Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new horror movie review. In today's video, I am going to be taking a look at the amazing Insidious movie that was released in 2010 and took the world by storm. But before I do jump into this, if this is your first time here, then please hit that like and subscribe button. So, Insidious is a horror movie about a young boy called Dalton, who goes to sleep one night and doesn't end up waking up. Now, it's apparent that Dalton has fallen into a coma that baffles the doctors. However, we eventually learn that Dalton isn't in a coma after all. Dalton has a special gift where his spirit vessel can basically leave his human body when he's asleep and he can travel around in his spirit form. Unfortunately, his spirit vessel travels a little bit too far into something called the Further, where he ends up trapped by a demon, and Dalton's father, Josh, tries to go into the Further to save him. I can remember when I first watched Insidious, I was house and dog sitting for a friend and they had a copy of Insidious, so I ended up putting it on while I was home alone in my friend's house and I was honestly shitting my pants. There are some really great genuine scares in this movie. Now, when Dalton is presumed in this coma, his parents have Dalton at home on a machine, and this is where all of the scary stuff starts to happen. Some of the famous scary scenes include a scene where the mother hears something horrible shouting on the baby monitor, and also this scene where the creepy guy, he just ends up like walking past the bedroom window and then into the bedroom and goes to attack the mum. But I think the one that we all remember very well is the scene of the little boy dancing around in the house to that creepy song, and the mum ends up looking around inside the house for the creepy little boy, and then the boy jumps out of this cupboard. It's great. Dalton's grandmother plays a big role in this movie because she knows that something paranormal is going on. She comes to the house and tells Dalton's parents that she had a dream recently where she's walking around their house and goes into Dalton's room. And this is where she sees a creepy demonic thing standing in the corner of Dalton's bedroom, where the demon ends up telling the grandmother that it wants Dalton. And to be fair, this is actually a really creepy scene. I do think that the build-up in this movie is executed perfectly. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know where the story is going, and you are truly invested. When all the creepy stuff gets a little bit too much for the family, this is when they call in for some help in the name of Elise, a spiritual lady who apparently deals with this sort of thing quite often. Now, Elise is the character who informs Dalton's family about the Further and about Dalton being stuck there. And all of these spooky things that have been happening, they are basically spirits and entities and even demons that are wanting to claim Dalton's human vessel. This is where Dalton's dad, Josh, who is played by the amazing Patrick Wilson, who seems to love starring in horror movies. Now, this is when his character, he ends up going into the Further to try and save his son. And I think this is probably the most intense part of the movie. Josh goes through this white mist and then he ends up in a different dimension of the house, and he sees all of these other little spirits. There's like one of the family sitting there on the sofa, there's a guy whistling, and then you got the woman with the crazy smile. It's really, really intense, and I had my hands over my face when I was first watching it. Honestly, guys, my heart was pounding. The biggest letdown of this movie for me is when the demon thing with the red face is revealed. I'm sorry, but what is that? It looks like some character from out of Cartoon Network. In my opinion, they should have never revealed this demon in its full form. They should have kept it in the shadows and in the dark, because this reveal, in my opinion, just undoes everything. Remember, leaving things to the viewer's imagination is sometimes a good thing, and sometimes less is more. There is a bit of a horrifying twist at the end of this movie, because just after the final battle of Josh and Dalton trying to get back to the real world, Josh ends up face to face with this creepy woman demon person who used to stalk Josh when he was a child. Now, we see him confront the creepy woman before he is brought back into the normal world with Dalton, and we are led to believe that this is all a happily ever after. However, we learn in the final moments that it wasn't Josh who made it back to his body, but it was indeed the creepy woman. And when Elise senses this, she ends up taking a photo of Josh, and she sees the creepy woman. And Josh, well, he pretty much ends up brutally murdering Elise on the sofa when he ends up choking her out. Now, I know a lot of people were gobsmacked and shocked by this twist, but I wasn't that shocked, I'll be totally honest with you. I was surprised, but it wasn't on the same level as, say, The Sixth Sense, but it was a really good ending. There is a scene in this movie that gives me The Shining vibes, when one of those ghost hunter guys, he ends up using like coloured slides to take photos around the house, and it ends up capturing the spirits of these girls who do that creepy little smile thing, and it just made me think of those twins in The Shining where they're like, come play with us, Danny. The music and the sound effects in this movie really add to the intense scenes. It really is like off the scale, the sound effects that they use. There are moments that make you feel almost out of control during some of the crazier scenes, and it's definitely very trippy. So my hat off to the guys who were in charge of the music and the sound effects. It is amazing. I did rewatch this movie just last night, as I haven't seen it for quite a few years, and I've just got to say, some of it hasn't really aged well. Particularly the scene where that red-faced demon is revealed. It's just way too cartoonish for me, and I think, like I said, I just think it was a big mistake revealing too much. However, there are other parts of the movie that are still just as scary today as it was back in 2010. Particularly the whole scene where Josh goes into the further in the third act, and you know, he's going to try and find Dalton. It was done very well. It still holds up today. Director James Wan is fantastic at horror movies, and of course it wasn't long after this movie we ended up getting The Conjuring in 2013. James Wan definitely knows what he's doing, and I always look forward to any of his new and upcoming horror films. I would say, for me personally, this movie is a 7.5 out of 10. It's got a great story, some great classic scares, a great cast, and there are just a little few things that let this movie down for me. Like I said, guys, this is just my opinion, but nevertheless, still a fantastic horror movie that is definitely worth watching. Let's hear some of your thoughts. What do you guys think of Insidious? Do we have any huge, massive fans watching today? Or do we have some people who don't really like Insidious? Let me know, guys. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below. Okay then, guys, well, thank you all for watching today's video. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe out there, and I will see you all again very soon.